Alright, in this video we're going to break down Darren Till versus Jorge Masvidal from UFC London, and some really interesting pieces throughout the fight in terms of the exchanges and the interplay going on between them, and how Jorge, especially with the vast experience that he's got, starts to actually work out a little bit of the vulnerabilities in Darren Till. But first we're going to look at the stuff that Till does brilliantly, because there's a lot of it, but in particular I want to look at how he uses that lead hand to measure the distance. It's pretty reminiscent of the way Conor McGregor does this stuff, where he's always working with that front hand. He's always doing something useful with it. You know, he's not just tucking it in and then throwing jabs from this position. He's doing work with that lead hand all the time, and in particular he's trying to measure distance and he's trying to find openings. So he gets quite a few instances early on where he's got Jorge backed up slightly towards the cage from here, and he's just continuously measuring that distance, and when he finds that opportunity, bang, that nice straight left coming in right behind that little distant piece from there. Exactly the same kinds of work that Conor does a lot from these positions. So this lead hand, don't forget it, it's not just there for defenses. It shouldn't just be idle all the time, particularly if you've got range on the other person, as Till does in this fight quite considerably. Then from here it can be an extremely useful thing to be measuring the range. It doesn't have to be thrown with power and be constantly active in this way. So just measuring out, measuring out, measuring out. You can turn it into shots as well from here, but he sneaks a tiny little slip of an opening, and that big left hand is coming in nice and direct, fired right down the middle as often as he can get it, and he catches Masvidal quite a few times with that nice straight left arm coming in off the back of a strong lead right arm and measuring that space. When we flip it the other way around and start to think about some of the things that went wrong for Till in this fight, it's always a tough one to critique in this respect, but quite early on as I was going through the fight and we were analysing it, I was talking about Till getting into positions where he does hands projected forwards. Almost, this is often you see this from guys that have got an extensive Muay Thai background. They come into this kind of position where they're prepared to check and they're prepared to defend from this position, but they come to a very square placement from there. Some complex reasons why that, the pros and cons of that, which we won't get into, but I was noting down as we were watching the fight, needs to be careful squaring up and coming into this kind of position, because eventually you might come a little unstuck with that. And from here, the problem is that he's not just creating distance and moving off, he's projecting hands forwards and coming square at the same time. So if you happen to be circling out or moving back and using the front hand for distance, this can work very well for you. But if you're projecting both hands forwards and or you're coming square at the same time, then you've got a lot of things that are slightly negative about that shape. So what happens in this exchange is that he gets suckered into doing this kind of defense, which he's got as an innate thing that he does now. It's instinctive for him to come into this kind of position when he gets caught on the first one. My guess would be that Masvidal is starting to see that, and he's starting to try and see if he can cause that reaction. So as a fight gets further on and you see more and more from your opponent, you get more and more data, especially if you're experienced about what you might be able to utilise against them. So let's presume that Masvidal's seen this as a reaction. So if Matt's playing Darren Till for me and he's on a southpaw stance from this position, he's trying to cause a reaction where he goes square and brings the hands up like this. Now, generally, Masvidal's on a left lead, so he's orthodox throughout most of the fight, but occasionally a few times he switches up to a southpaw position, and so I think you've got a combination of factors now going on which cause Till some stress. One is the quick switch of stance, but the main one here is Masvidal managing to cause that reaction. So what happens is he leaps in on a jab, manages to cause this reaction from here, and then he's straight in with that left hand, kind of called it an overhand, but it's almost like a leaping hook on this one, bang, catches him right on the chin from this position and just continues to follow up from there. The jab itself isn't really a fake as such. He's loading up on it quite a bit. He's really stepping into it, partly because of the range, but partly because he really wants to cause that genuine reaction. If he just jabs out with it from here, then Till's going to be much tidier potentially in that position. So he wants that big reaction. So you see him switch onto that stance, he comes in with a little kick beforehand, and then from here he leaps in on that jab, trying to make sure that Till reacts. And as he does from this position, boom, catches him straight on the chin And that's the start of the big knockout between Till and Masvidal. So again, trying to point out bits of information that can be useful for tightening up your own defences and for analysing the intricacies of what might be going on between these interactions. Not meant to be a critique of Till, but this squaring up position is what I believe Masvidal was looking for and managed to eventually take advantage of. If you like the video, then check out more at ufcsecrets.com. More coming up about UFC London.